Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope everybody is having a great day. We have a lot to break down in the market, especially with what's happening politically in terms of a big bill that has made it past kind of its first round of signing and is on its way to the Senate, and what this could cause in terms of bullishness or volatility coming back into the market. We also have NVDA having their earnings coming up here relatively soon, which I think will lead to a big impact in terms of what's the trend on AI spending. And also, we'll talk about Palantir, of course, because we've been covering that on a daily basis, and some of the other stocks that we have on the watch list. We see quantum stocks absolutely soaring today after we'll be talking about an article, kind of exactly what happened that caused a lot of buying pressure, pushing them up like 20 to 30%. So a lot to break down. We've hit 25,000 subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. Let's keep the rally going on to 30,000. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into the video. Now, if you pop it up on the screen here, Palantir is up about 1.5% with another percent in the after hours, currently at 123. One thing that I can say about Palantir, we don't have a ton of breaking news or anything like that in terms of headlines or new partnerships, which, hey, we know we've secured a ton of those. Palantir is doing a great job holding at these all-time high levels. A major accomplishment. When Palantir is consolidating at all-time highs, that is very bullish. Cooling off at all-time highs is pretty crazy. So when the market gets ready for more buying pressure, if we're seeing any big catalyst for Palantir, things like that, that is where we could see this push past all-time highs and possibly be on the run up to 150. I think that is not entirely off the table for 2025, especially with the big bill that we'll talk about here that did recently kind of make some momentum throughout the typical legislation. Market on the day, basically even. So we'll be talking about that going into Friday tomorrow. Now, the S&P 500, we see closes here, little change. Talking about the CNBC article, they talk about this line and the line vote. House members approved the bill right here. Now this is going to the Senate, which could, they say, increase the government's debt by trillions of dollars. Yes, this is going to be adding to the deficit. What this bill is doing, though, short term, this tax bill is good for the economy. Looking at the specific bill right here, what it is, it can help boost GDP growth in 2026, and that is because it helps reduce taxes for a lot of people. We saw the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, bringing a lot more money into the direct money supply of the consumers, and helps to increase spending, especially on defense, because they're going to be working a lot of defense things. We saw with the Golden Dome, and so those things are very stimulative to the economy, are going to help boost GDP growth. So for the short term, if this bill gets 100% approved, that is where we could see more buying pressure possibly coming into the market because of the reduction on taxes, bringing in some optimism. This article doesn't think that completely. That's just what my prediction kind of stands at. They say here, in the longer term, the measure adds to the deficit and is bad news for the market. The reason why they're saying it's bad news for the market is because the yields are continuing to rise. We saw that in yesterday's session, right in the afternoon, when the Treasury yield had jumped up to over about 5%, due to the fact that we saw, a decrease in bidding at the auction. So they increased the yield. That dip was bought back immediately. And what we've been seeing in the markets kind of throughout the last few weeks is the dip has been immediately bought up. And a lot of actually data that we've seen from JP Morgan has showed us that retail is coming in here to buy the dip. Now, in the long term, are they all going to get rug pulled eventually? I don't know. But in the short term, this bill does bring some optimism and buying pressure into the market. With this poor auction for the 20 Treasury yield debt, this is showing that, hey, maybe the credit market that is running into more of a crisis. So these Treasury yields could continue to rise. But in my own opinion, in the short term, with this bill passing, the reduction on taxes for a lot of people, I think that's actually going to bring optimism into the market. Now, if you correlate that and couple that with NVIDIA, this is also going to be a big key player. NVIDIA, they say, in terms of option traders, what they are tracking is possibly up to about a 7.4% swing after the earnings results, either to the upside or the downside. Now, NVIDIA, what we've seen historically is typically shares have fallen after we've seen quarter earnings, even when they're beating, topping expectations. I don't know if it's just kind of like buy the rumor, sell the news type of mumbo jumbo. So we could see a pullback for NVIDIA, definitely, but NVIDIA has been doing incredibly well. We've been seeing lots of partnerships, especially with the Middle East, and what we've seen with the demand for chips and now with the demand for AI has been increasing tremendously. Where NVIDIA sits at right now is at 132 and has really been consolidating at this zone. If NVIDIA can break out above kind of that 135, 140, there's a resistance, a lot of resistance at the forward at 140. That's where we're going to see possibly the push up to the 150s, getting more into those all-time high levels, all depending on earnings. Some of the other stocks that we have also been watching is Hood. We'll be talking about this in just a moment, but Hood we know is also near all-time highs right here. You can see at 66.89. Hood is gearing up. A lot of people saying that this is a $100 stock. That's what we're seeing, especially among the retail community, because just think of all the investors, especially with the younger generation, going into purchase stocks. If they want to get involved into the stock market, then they can just use their phone, download an app. We're seeing a decrease from people getting involved with, a financial advisor, these traditional brokerages, getting more into Robinhood, with now is, expanding its market with many different types of opportunities for trading. Now they have the betting and the prediction markets getting more involved, and they are also working. I think it's becoming soon, because we saw in Kraken today with the announcement of adding these stocks and assets as tokenized assets on the blockchain. This means different countries can even trade without having to be, completely registered, or if they're hard to access. Trading these stocks like Apple, Google, things like that, if we can tokenize them and put them on the blockchain, that's what Robinhood is working on. Kraken came out with the announcement today, which means this is kind of right on our radar. It's right in the forefront right here. I thought it was, we thought it was further away, but that is very bullish for Robinhood. And I think if they can pull that off, that's where you see the next push. Another big thing that we see today is quantum computing stocks SOAR. We see quantum computing stocks doing very, very well. A big one in the game, IonQ here, the ticker symbol, IONQ, shoots up about 36% today. Now, quantum stocks are still very, very speculative in nature. But the reason why we saw this, and especially with all the different, like Rigetti right here, D-Wave, they're all shooting up over 20%. Talking about quantum, what happened and what we saw is basically there was an interview. And the interview with IonQ right here, basically in their eyes, the company is the quantum sector equivalent of the GPU unit, NVIDIA, or advanced processor specialists, such as IonQs. So the fact that IonQ had this and Barron's published this interview with the company's CEO, I think that just brought a lot of extreme bullish perspectives into the business. And this was clearly taken, they say by the article's readers, as a likely prosperity for the wider quantum space. Now, quantum, what we've seen, has been basically in the research and development phase. We've seen one stock that has now actually came out, I believe it was D-Wave. I still need to get more familiar with the quantum stocks. Basically got involved, or has an actual commercial product, an actual application that they can sell. And there's many different modalities with quantum computing. So, encourage you to do your research, learn everything about them, where they are in the space, and kind of what their anticipation is for actually making some movements, coming out with actual products that can be utilized in the commercial sector within the next, 5-10 years. We don't know, but that's where quantum computing is sitting right now. But we can see a lot of optimism, a lot of hype. Definitely this could possibly pull back, or getting into these crazy waves. It's crazy to see what's been happening in the market. We've seen some crazy swings. Other stock that we talk about here, CoreWeave, has been on the radar. CoreWeave has been popping up like crazy, especially with the recent announcements that they had received NVIDIA investment, NVIDIA backing. And in terms of what's happening with CoreWeave and what they do, if you don't know, they offer kind of a AI cloud infrastructure platform, or you could just say a cloud computing platform that's really tailored and optimized for AI, the AI industry. So in terms of cloud computing, we know is huge, and them getting involved into the AI space, allowing people to utilize the AI chips through the cloud, not actually having to purchase them. That's what CoreWeave is working on. Now, this stock IPO'd at like 40 bucks not that long ago. It has been on a run at this $100 right here. So we'll see what happens if there's a little bit of a pullback, but another speculative stock to keep on your radar. Some of the other ones we've seen, HIMS breathing right here, coming back down to about 53, down about 7% in the day. So be keeping you guys updated. What do you guys make of this market? What do you think is going to be the anticipation with that bill? Do you think that's going to bring bullishness or bearishness here in the short term, in the long term? Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.